everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sara.
And I'm Allie.
Oh my gosh, we're both just beaming.
Yeah.
Ear to ear beaming. What a tournament so far, Allie.
Yeah, this World Cup has delivered higher than even I thought. I knew it was going to be good, but it's great. It's phenomenal.
It's so epic.
Every match, there is something that's just wow.
We're in match day 2, and some of these matches already feel like knockout rounds.
Yep.
You know, we are having an absolute ball.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the games, I feel like there's a lot of not high level, just like maybe fun tournament things we want to talk about. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody in New York who came out to the watch party that we co-hosted last night. It was massive. There were like 1,000 people there who came out. It was just jam-packed, an absolute blast. Just wow. And thank you to everybody who showed up, who found out about it through here and showed up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got to move on to the next most important topic, which is, Allie.
This is the most important topic, which
It
is
the most important topic.
the German koala bear. I
So
am
cute.
obsessed with this koala bear. As a crafty person myself, I am obsessed. So, it was Ball, if I remember rightly, has crocheted this koala bear as the Germans' unofficial mascot for this tournament. It's a little koala bear in a German jersey. And the photos that are coming out of the German social media, like, it's amazing. My favourite is the one of Oberdorf holding it on the subs bench. And she's, like, it's the way that the camera's caught her, but she's got this fierce look on her face of say, I will protect the koala.
It's not just the way the camera's caught her, it's the fact that she's wearing the Germany warm-ups, which are like black in the middle but color on the sleeves. And the first 10 times I looked at this, I thought she had it in a little baby saddle that like sits in front of her. It's just in her jacket, but I thought she had it in like a little baby saddle, and that was just the best.
And then when they won, the bear is in the hood of her like warm-up jacket, and then there's like photos of Pop falling asleep with it. Like, I'm obsessed with this koala bear because it's amazing.
I am too. We got to tell the backstory. This koala bear is named, is it Waru?
Yeah,
I think
Waru.
they call it Waru.
Yeah.
And like you just said, Allie, Clara Buell crocheted it. But this all came about because in the Euros, Clara Buell got COVID and was bored in her hotel room. So she took up crocheting. And then between then and now, she was like, you know what? I'm just going to make us a mascot.
Yeah, it's amazing. And as a fellow crocheter, Sarah has been gifted a couple of things from my crocheting because I do enjoy it. So I'm just like obsessed and on koala watch now. I just want to like find Waru everywhere.
Right, so from a positive to to drama, really. From the positive of the koala to the drama of Norway. We have to talk about Norway. We're not going to talk about one of their games, so we're just going to put it in right here. This was, I mean, I'm sorry, as somebody who does love drama, does love a little gossip, Norway are a mess. They were a mess in the Euros, fired their head coach, brought in a new head coach in Hege Riise, who is a Norway legend. We were talking, Allie, before this tournament started, and we were thinking, you know what? It's a hard job for anybody to come in, tactically, for any coach to come in so close to a World Cup. But maybe what she can bring here is vibes, good vibes, because they need it, because it was a mess, right? And it is very clear that that's actually exactly the opposite of what is happening right now. They had a horrid first game. Caroline Graham-Hansen has spoken out to the media quite a few times. We're going to come on to Caroline Graham-Hansen. It just reeks of infighting. And Caroline Graham-Hansen, one of the best players in the world, it was announced before Norway's second game that she was going to be on the bench. Caroline Graham-Hansen, before the first game, we've talked about how she was quoted saying that this team is made up of a lot of individual players and the expectations were a little too high. After she was benched for the second game, she said, quote, I thought I had earned a certain amount of respect, but maybe that wasn't the case. Honestly, she's not wrong. She's not wrong about any of it. A plus on accuracy for everything. But, just so much drama has ensued. And then it seemed like she was kind of forced to speak to the media and like apologize and say that she's not going to talk anymore. And the image of that with Caroline Graham-Hansen like speaking to the media and Hege Riise is like standing off to the side watching her. It was so awkward.
So then that's all happened. And then today, as we are recording on Thursday, Engin has come out and was asked about what happened with CGH. And she's been very diplomatic about it, but basically saying, I understand the frustration. I'm in exactly the same position. So they are not afraid to be talking about what is happening in the Norway back room. They've had to pull it back a bit, but it is very much not okay.
It's all just very, very weird. And I want to know every detail.
So let's get into some actual action. We've got 3, that's right, 3 games we are highlighting for this episode. We are hitting off with the USA versus the Netherlands. We are then kicking it over to my game of the week, which is Australia versus Nigeria. And then we've got to get in the Canada-Ireland drama of it all. But do not worry, England fans, we will be talking about England in its own little special capsule, because it's that special.
And I'll just add, we do have a very special guest for that, which I'm really excited for.
You're going to have to tune in to find out who that is, but we are stoked.
Allie wanted to kick this off with Australia versus Nigeria, but I said, no. We're doing USA versus Netherlands, baby. What a game. I have so much to say. You're going to have to, I
was going to say, I'm glad you have a lot to say, because I don't. I did not enjoy this game whatsoever.
Oh, well, I think that you are wrong. But nonetheless, the USA and the Netherlands tied 1-1. I did predict that they would tie, but I got the scoreline wrong. That's okay. But before we get into any of the game chat, we have to talk about maybe the most memeable. I was
going to say the best bit of the game from
this. The most memeable photo maybe of this entire World Cup so far, which is Van de Donk in the swim cap. If you haven't seen this, I don't know. You're living under a rock. Just Google it. It's probably the first thing that comes up when you Google Van de Donk now. Her and Lindsay Horan got into it, and she cracked her skull a little bit, and they decided to give her a swim cap so that the bleeding would not get everywhere and she could stay on the field, which is something in and of itself.
Well, it's better than the wraparound bandages they normally get.
But I mean, the image of her with the swim cap just kind of like partway on her head and like her ponytail coming out the back, just like she looks really disheveled. I feel like you can kind of read her lips when she's coming off the field. She's kind of like, this is so embarrassing.
I think if you want the best photo of it, however, it's from the after game presser with her and Haran.
It's so
mainly
cute.
Because Van de Donk is little, Haran is quite tall comparatively, so it's like, first off, you've got the height difference, which is hysterical. Then you've got got Van de Donk with this like swim cap thing on, and like in the end, like Haran just has to like bear hug Van de Donk to be like, it's all good, it's all good.
They were so cute in that post game, though. They were both kind of like, you know what?
Well, they played together, right?
Best players go hard.
Yeah,
they play together in clubs, so they're cool. They were both just kind of like, we're good. We went hard on the field, and you know, it's all love now. But was that a spicy battle, or was that a spicy battle?
And I have to say, I have to give props to Haran when we get into it. We get into it.
You have to. Let's start there. She had a game. Like, she had such a game. And just the epicness of, like, Van de Donk going in on Haran, and then they got into it in the box, and then, like, the shove that Haran gave Van de Donk, and then, boom, she equalizes. Like, how good do you think that feels for Lindsay Horan? I don't think that there's a better feeling in the world than maybe that moment right there, where it's just like, middle finger to you, thank you and goodbye. What a goal that was.
It was a great goal. I will concede it was a great goal.
All right, so I have a lot to say about the U.S. Do you want to start with the Netherlands and then come on to the U.S.?
No, I'm going to get you to have all your excitement out first. So, like, come on, let's talk about the U.S.
Okay. So, I mean, I can't believe that this statistic is real, but I saw that this is the first time that the USA went down in a World Cup match since 2011.
I can believe that.
Look, we knew that this game was going to be the game that told us everything we needed to know about this team. You know, there's been questions about what they're made of, about their mentality, about their on-field play. There's just been questions, and this game was going to tell us everything we needed to know about them. And the fact that they went down 1-0, they clawed back in, an unfortunate offside goal. I lost my mind when I thought we went up 2-1. Like, I actually did not know what to do with my feelings. But the fact that they climbed back, that they got control of this game, they absolutely owned the second half. They were the better team that entire second half. And that's it. Like, this was the moment to show us what they were made of, and they did. And they have that U.S. mentality that people were questioning if they still had it. They have that fight. It was there. They stepped up to the plate, and I absolutely loved it.
Okay. I 100% disagree.
You should be careful, because I think everybody's going to disagree with you on this.
And that's fine. Like, do I think it was a good performance from the US? Absolutely. Do I think it's the game-changing performance that you're making it out to be? Absolutely not. There was a lot of flaws within that game, and it's not like, if you compare this team to the 2019 team,
you can't do that. You have to stop doing that. Nobody is doing that, though. Like, they're not doing that, and I'm not doing that. And you have to continue to look at this as the U.S. in the 2023 World Cup tournament. That's it. U.S. in the 2023 World Cup tournament. And this was a performance against a strong team in the Netherlands that, they could win the title, the Netherlands. And you're going to come out like that, and you're going to tie them, and you absolutely could have put a go-ahead goal away. Like, this, it proved to me that the U.S. could win the tournament.
But they didn't, and that's the problem. You can do all these coulda, woulda, shouldas as much as you want, right? You said this about England to us, I'm saying too. And I hate to agree with Carly Lloyd. It pains me to say this. But she's turned around and said that if you do this performance against an even stronger team, because there are stronger teams than the Netherlands in there, and you don't put away those chances that you're missing, then you're out in the round of 16.
This is a tournament, and you grow into the tournament. And guess what? It's not the round of 16. That was the second game in this entire tournament. You got a whole other game to go and continue to grow and continue to work on things. So for the game that it was, playing the Netherlands in the second game of the group stage after coming off of Vietnam, like, this was a great performance. Period. The end. And that's not saying that there aren't things that still need to be worked on. Like, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying this is a great performance for what it was. Let's talk about the positives first, and then we'll talk about some things that we think are maybe missing. But, like, it's not black and white. It's not, it was a great performance and nothing's wrong, or it was a bad performance and everything's, like, it was a really good performance. Very, very strong. To me, it proved that this team absolutely can compete with any team, which, frankly, like, despite their ranking, there were question marks around, and they proved that. And what I love to see most is that, I'll go back to the statistic, they fought back from being down in a game, a place where the U.S. has not found themselves many times. And that is no small feat in any World Cup game, and it is definitely no small feat in a World Cup game against the Netherlands. So I give many, many props to that. I agree that they need to capitalize on more of their chances. That's something that they definitely didn't solve from the Vietnam game. It was clear here as well. So absolutely. And quite frankly, if they don't solve that in the third game, they might end up coming out second in the group, and that's going to be very difficult. So something that I agree, maybe top of the list in terms of things to solve. That's number one, because they have to win in goal difference now.
All right, let's talk about this game as a game of two halves, and let's talk about the first half, because the first half for me was all the Dutch. It was all the Netherlands. There were some chances from the US, but I thought they were still coming together, whereas the Netherlands were already there for the first half.
I mean, I thought the Netherlands won the first half and the US won the second half. I think that was the game. I think, and that's what the scoreline kind of showed as well. I do think that the US had more chances overall. Just like first half and second half, like not even breaking it down by half. And I think that they dominated in terms of that. And that's exactly what it comes back to, what you were saying. You need to put the chances away. But yes, overall, Netherlands got the first half. No question.
And I think defensive they were strong, because we were having some conversations because they were missing some key players. Beerenstein got an ankle injury in their first game and so wasn't available for this game. We knew that was going to be huge for them. And I think they coped really well the first half not having that, because she was brought in to replace Miedema and has been doing so fantastically well. I don't even see her as a replacement for Miedema. I think she's just a fantastic player in her own. So having her not there was going to be a huge thing for the Netherlands, and I think they coped super well the first half, but the depth of maybe the bench let them down second half.
You know what I think it was, actually? It actually has nothing to do with the Netherlands. It has to do with the U.S. and the fact that Rose Lavelle came on in the second half. I think that's what it is. Rose Lavelle is so key for this team. She is the connective piece. And if you listen to our Patreon and you heard mine and Tim's breakdown of the first US game, you'll hear us talk about that. Like, she really is so valuable at what she brings to this field, what she brings to this team. That was the difference. It almost wasn't in the Netherlands. It was just Rose Lavelle stepped onto the field, and hey, she had 30 in the first game, 45 minutes in this second game. So we're creeping up slowly. Let's hope to have her for 60 minutes in that third game. But Rose and Haran were absolutely players in the match for me.
Yeah, which is what the US has been missing these last few year or so because of injury and everything else, and just having that missing piece. We can't, again, I'm not trying to be negative, I'm not, but we do have to talk about the front three. There was some great moments with the front three. I thought they played really well together. However, the question remains, and we talked about this on the pod, which is Trinity Rodman. Is she a starter or is she an impact sub? Based on that performance against the Netherlands, I still maintain she is an impact sub. Don't think she was quite clicking as a starter.
You know what? It's so tricky because that third forward position, I mean, so Sophia Smith's on lock, Alex Morgan's on lock. I thought they both had great games, really great games. Trinity Rodman, she was off, and she has seemed to play better as a substitute. The problem is Lynn Williams plays better as a substitute. Alyssa Thompson plays better as a substitute. Everybody else who could slot into that role plays better as a substitute. And so I think the question was more around, I think it's at this point less around does Trinity Rodman start, and specifically in this game, everybody's asking why she didn't come off and Lynn didn't go on. And I think this is maybe what you have something to pick apart about Vlatko. You mentioned something in his press conference.
Yeah, Vlatko was asked at the post-game press conference, which was about the lack of subs affecting the game, and his response was he was concerned a substitute would take a minute or two to adjust, that therefore Williams was on the top of his mind, but he said he just didn't bother. And my response was, well, that's a dumb answer considering the rhythm he was trying to protect. Sometimes you just need that oomph of fresh legs and that thing. And we've said it before, Lynn Williams can come on and she can score goals. She is doing it for Gotham. She can come on and she's played her way on that team. I get not wanting to disrupt her rhythm, but if you've got one key is out of tune, would you not try and change the chord up a bit to keep the music theme going? Yeah,
I suppose, I can't disagree. I'm always, especially in a World Cup, I am always on the side of fresh legs. It's almost guaranteed to help you. It just is. So why not try it? We know the spark that Lynn Williams can bring. On the other hand, I do understand as a coach, you have to walk that line of hey, we have dominated this whole half. We have momentum. We are firing for really on all cylinders. Why not maybe just leave it? Considering we know what we saw, maybe it would have been interesting to see Lynn Williams come on. But I guess I don't have a huge gripe about it. I would have loved to see Lynn come on, but I get being a little trepidatious about that. You know what I mean?
But group games is the time to do it.
I would agree. I think it is a massive loss that Lynn Williams, we are our 2 games in, and she has not set a step foot on the field. That is a problem.
But can we talk about the Netherlands again just for a second? Because I want to talk about Manchester City's new signing, Jill Roord. Because Jill Roord, oh my goodness.
How many times have I said that? If Jill Roord plays well, most likely the team's going to play well.
So true.
That applies to Wolfsburg. That applies to the Netherlands. And she had a game, and man, that was a beautiful goal. Unstoppable.
No, that's the thing. I don't even think that Alyssa could have got a hand to it, even if her vision wasn't blocked, which is a defensive thing. But I think that was a Jill Roord special. She did it in the Euros. She's done it for Wolfsburg, and she's done it again for the Netherlands. So, for me, one of the best players on the pitch, and is a reason why the Netherlands are a threat and why they are a contender for this title.
I would agree. I mean, the Netherlands, they were physical. They were efficient. I'd mentioned how the U.S. dominated in terms of shots and shots on goal. The U.S. had 18 shots, 4 on target. The Netherlands only had 5 shots and 1 on target. And guess what? That 1 on target went in. So efficient. Oh my goodness. They looked great, I thought. It was hard to watch Spitza, honestly, a player who I have liked in the past, and she was I learned that she was the one who was mocking the haka, so I honestly just can't support her right now at all. But that aside, I thought that they looked good. And if this will make you happy, I'll say one more thing that I think that I would like to see the U.S. improve on, and this is a game-to-game thing. You know, some games you have more possession and some games you don't. I would have liked to see the U.S. maintain a little bit more possession. That is another thing that I think they've tried to improve on and need to continue to improve on, but little by little. USA.
Now over to my game of the week, which is Australia versus Nigeria. It was so hard, like I said, with the time zones to not give Sara spoilers on this game.
Oh man. Well, you know, I was up at 2 a.m. back from the watch party for the US, and I was like, do I just stay up for another hour and a half and watch this? And then I was like, no, I can't do that.
But this game, oh my goodness. This for me has probably been my favourite game to watch as a neutral, because it had absolutely everything.
Guess how many shots Australia had? Not shots on goal, just like shots.
I don't know how many.
28. That is wild.
That is insane.
Where do we start even with this game? I don't know, but I could not take my eyes off of this screen. I could not. I was glued to the screen because I knew that if I took them off for a millisecond, something was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, this is atypical of the game typical of the game that you said for me, which is it feels like this was a knockout round rather than just a group stage match, because every player left everything on the pitch. Like, I don't think there is like one player you could say could have worked harder, tried harder at all, because they left everything on that pitch. It was just, I can't go on about how much this game.
Knockouts are fun, but when teams are fighting for advancing in a group stage, like, that's how it felt in the US Netherlands, because they knew that whoever advanced second was screwed. So that's how that felt in the USA Netherlands. That's how this felt in Australia, Nigeria. Like, they were battling. This group is ridiculous, Allie. We knew Group B was going to be just wild.
This was the group of death.
It was, but it was the group of death because everybody is so even, and truly anything could happen on any given day. They could have ended up with ties across the board, and instead they decide to go off. 3-2 scoreline. Nigeria takes it over Australia. It was scoreless until the dying minutes of the first half, and then all hell broke loose.
Yes, so I was watching it live and I was listening to the commentators, and the commentator went, "Oh, I think Nigeria are going to go into this the happier of the two sides because they've managed to keep Australia at bay." As soon as they said that, Van Egmond slots home the most beautiful, like, it was a beautiful, proper Van Egmond goal. As the commentator said, it's like she's just passed it into the net. Doesn't even look like a shot. It's like she's just passed it into the net.
No, it was a beautiful ball too. It was a beautiful delayed run by Van Egmond. It was just A+ across the board.
It was perfect. And you're like, oh, poor Nigeria. Like, they've played so well, and to concede right on half time. And we'd seen that happen with Ireland for Canada to make it, which we'll talk about level. So you think, right, that's it. Australia are going in 1-0 up. And then Carpenter made a hash of a clearance, and what she did was get in the way of her own keeper's line of vision. But let's not take it away from the Nigerian striker, because the thought to get around Carpenter and that low shot, Mackenzie Arnold got a hand to it, but there was no stopping that shot.
Stopping that shot. I mean, Kanu, that was number 12 for Nigeria, Kanu. She brought some amazing energy. She's not generally a starter, but she played so hard. She played so well, and she did a great job. I mean, that was a weird bouncing ball, and she did a great job to just... She had to hit it one touch. If she had tried to take a touch, it would have been over, right? So she did a great job just to get a foot on it and try to redirect it midair, and massive credit to her. But you have to think, I felt like despite how even and such a battle this game was, it did feel that the first half was more Australia's. And
it was.
It was such a deflation for them to have conceded going into halftime, and that almost changed everything. Now, I'll give Australia credit because every time they conceded, they responded incredibly. Never once did this team stop attacking. Never once did they hang their heads. But you could tell that throughout the second half, as it progressed, they were more and more mentally shaken, and it just felt like they started to run out of ideas.
It also felt like it was just panic. It was just frantic. It was just, they were like, we don't know what to do now.
There's so much to say about both of these teams. Should we start? Do you want to start with Australia or Nigeria? I feel like that's the way to break this down. Let's not go chronological. Let's go team by team here.
I want to start with the victors, to be honest, because I thought Nigeria came out of this game as great as Australia were. Nigeria were something else. And, like, I'm seeing a lot of people being like, you guys slept on these. They've won the African Cup of Nations 11 times. They are a great footballing nation within Africa. But it feels like that's where they get stunted. That's all people seem to leave it as. And it's like, so, like, you're listening to the commentators and they're like stunned that Nigeria are doing this to Australia, and it's like, no, Nigeria are a super strong footballing team that just has a budget of like a penny.
Yeah. I want to take a moment because I think we missed this in our storylines, because I actually didn't know this, and Jackie Oatley called this out on the commentary. I'm shocked that this hasn't gotten the light that it deserves, and I love Jackie Oatley for calling this out, and then I obviously went and Googled it and read a ton about it. Nigeria are a federation they're a team that are in their own battle with their federation. It's a little different. Their federation essentially have said that they're broke, they don't have money to pay anybody. A few months before this World Cup started, news broke that they owed head coach Randy Waldrum over $100,000. That's how much they were missing in terms of their pay. During the Africa Cup of Nations, a few players threatened to strike and not play because they weren't being paid at all. So, I mean, just another battle with a federation that refuses to pay their players. Where the money is going in the federation, I don't know. But obviously it hasn't been to the coach or to the players. So, I mean, it is nice to see the head coach has been speaking about it publicly during this World Cup. And I think that's actually why it's starting to get the light of day. So I appreciate that he's doing that, because he is not just standing up for himself, he's standing up for his players in that sense. But we can continue to shed light on that. I mean, imagine what they could do with funding.
Yeah, exactly. It does make luck, because he is a very out loud Texan man. If you've ever heard the Nigerian coach speak, he's like so stereotypically Texan. I'm expecting him to have like a Stetson. Like, he reminds me of the Texan.
He looks like he could have come out of Friday Night Lights, the TV show.
Right, but we've got to talk about these players because they played their absolute skins out. Payne, for me, was just so crucial, was everywhere on that pitch. I would love to see her heat map, because she was just everywhere for that.
She's that workhorse. She's that number 8. And she stands out because of what she can do on the ball, but she also stands out because, like you said, she is everywhere. And I think for them not to have Payne would be almost the biggest loss across the board, despite this team being stacked in the front line. I mean, Anamanu, Kanu had a great game. Oshwala coming on as a sub. Payne is really everything for this team. She is that center, pulling the strings, the workhorse. She is the everything. And we already talked about Kanu, but I want to call out, and while we're talking about players, Alozie had a great game on that right wing. I also want to highlight about Nigeria, they don't get enough credit for how organized they are.
Yeah.
This team is so organized. They are like a well-oiled machine in how they fall back on defense, how organized their shape is on defense. And then what's most impressive to me is how they are able to step forward and orchestrate a counterattack and do that with organization between lines. Counterattacking teams so often get stretched too far, and that's where they lose in games, because they'll get stretched too far and they'll just give the ball back, and then they're playing defense the whole time. You do not see that happening to Nigeria. You almost forget that they're a counterattacking team because of the attack that they're able to build within that formation, within their shape. Their lines move together so efficiently. It is gorgeous to watch.
I was going to say, because like teams that like to low block and like pack defenders, watch how Nigeria does it, because every time Australia came forward, there was like 3 players on the striker that was going forward. They cleared their lines so quickly, but then you still had the players' pace bombing it up that pitch to get the goals. So yeah, teams that like a low block.
I didn't like that they went to that 5-back though. I rarely like when teams go into a 5-back, into a low block. So maybe this is me personally, but I didn't like that once they went up 3-1, they went into that 5-back, because it just invited the onslaught from Australia. And that's what happened. From the 75th minute on, it was just Australia. And that's not just 15 minutes, because we had like close to 15 minutes of extra time. So that's like a 30-minute onslaught for Australia. And frankly, you don't know, maybe there was another goal left in Nigeria to really just like put the dagger in it, and instead they went into the 5-back and they just defended. I would have rather them stay as they were, with knowing that they had a 2-goal cushion.
Yeah. Though another couple of players we do have to shout out is Nendozi, the goalkeeper. Phenomenal. And I don't normally like when like keepers just fall on the ball and hold on to it towards the end, but I was willing her by the end. I was like, yes, just hold the ball, just keep the ball, like just hold it. As long as you can get away with it.
I agree. I think she had a great game. And we also have to call out Anomi Ebi is a 40-year-old legendary player for Nigeria. She got her appearance in her 6th ever World Cup in this game.
She's another sixer.
Another sixer. She is the first African player to ever play in 6 World Cups. That's massive. Massive, massive. That was history that we got to watch.
I have to say, some of my favourite play from Nigeria was in the middle. Like, if they lost the ball from Australia, they were very good at getting possession back, and their passing was so precise and amazing. So, yeah. But we got to talk about those goals, because those goals were just beautiful.
I mean, they were all gorgeous goals. Every single goal in this game, there were 5 goals, all of them bangers. Amazing. You mentioned, though, that Nigeria's defense in the middle of the park. And yes, that was part of it. And also, like I said, to move into Australia, we've said before, this will be the death of Australia. Their sloppy, careless giveaways in the wrong part of the field. And we saw it too many times in this game, and Nigeria are the team that made them pay for it. And that was the difference in this game.
Because we look at the third goal, that one was Kennedy, who completely tried to... basically, miscommunication between Mackenzie Arnold and Kennedy. Both of them were like, you deal with it. And instead, what happened is the Nigerian striker came, glorious goal, like, from the corner.
That was Oshwala.
Yeah, Oshwala.
You cannot have a miscommunication with the speed of Oshwala on your heels.
Like, rounded Mackenzie Arnold and just beautiful strike into that bottom left corner. So, yeah. Need to tighten up, Australia. You need to tighten it up.
I thought what they did well, let's go to the positive first, I suppose. They looked really good on the attack in terms of patience and being comfortable in possession of the ball. That's something that we said in their first game they needed to work on, and much improved in this game. I was really pleased with them in the first half in terms of their patience and their ability to just possess. They leaned a lot more heavily on Cooney Cross and Gorey. I just love that center midfield pairing.
It's great.
And it works
well. It's great. Like Australia should be building their team around that pairing, because I think both Gorey and Cooney Cross have proved themselves. Yes, they're young, but they are so talented and they work together sublimely. Like, it's such a great pairing.
It was clear that in the first game, they didn't have the time between when Sam Kerr got hurt and kickoff to change their game plan. They were just like, we have to play our game plan, but we don't have Sam Kerr. And this time they got to plan knowing that they weren't going to have Sam Kerr, and plan to funnel through their 2 center midfielders like you just said they should. And it worked much better.
Obviously, the news came out that they lost Mary Fowler right before.
Oh, God.
So they're missing Kerr, obviously. Hopefully we'll be back for the third game. It's still not...
I don't think she will be. It's really not looking good. The way they're talking about it, the way they're not wanting to talk about it, she doesn't look very happy. It does not... I mean, I'm worried we're not going to get Sam Kerr, period.
Exactly, and we'll get on to why that will be in a minute. So, yeah, so they're obviously missing Fowler. Yallop was out as well. Now, the one for me is Kia Simon, because Kia Simon's been called up. However, she did her ACL in a game against Reading. She hasn't played since. Like, she hasn't, like, made an appearance for either Spurs or Australia since doing that injury. She's apparently back, but as it's pointed out, what was the point of calling up a half-fit player? Surely, I know experience says a lot. I know having that head speaks a lot. But in games like this, you needed to be able to bring on the fresh legs that we're talking about that is going to be able to, like, outrun that Nigerian defence to get you those goals. The fact that he had to, and it worked out for him, luckily, but he had to rely on the fact of bringing on another defender and pushing Alana Kennedy up, who is a defender.
Listen, Tony Gustafsson, I don't know. I don't want to get into like what he was thinking with Simon because I don't know. But the fact that Australia had Sam Kerr, who would have been the number 1, Fowler and Yallop, who would have been the numbers 2 and 3, and all 3 of them are injured. This team is quite literally out of forwards. They are out of attacking players.
In terms of forwards.
They're running low on creative players. And we saw that in this game. But the fact that they've got all 3, you know, you go into this tournament with those 3, you're thinking you have a pretty deep bench in terms of game changers. Now they're all out. Praise to Tony Gustafsson because this was a creative move to put on a center back, push Alana Kennedy up top, and it worked. She got the second goal a little too late, too little too late it was for them, but credit to him. And I just think that the lack of bench, specifically in terms of the depth of the creative players, the players up top, the game changers, might be the end of Australia. It's hard. It's so disappointing. It's just hard to see because Tony Gustafsson is doing everything he can, but there's just no bench. And even if they are able to advance, there's no bench. And we know you can't go far in a tournament like this without a bench.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
To the other Group B game, because they're just the group to talk about. Canada versus Ireland is where we are headed next. We thought this was going to be probably the most physical game in the tournament. It was physical, but nobody got hurt. So that's fantastic. Canada took this 2-1, dashed the hopes of Ireland advancing. Ireland are officially eliminated from contention with that. However, not before getting their first ever World Cup goal for their country from Katie McCabe, an Olympico.
Yes, and for those that don't know what that is, that's scoring directly from a corner.
I mean, let's just start there. Kaylin Sheridan will be very upset about this. She got caught out of position.
I honestly thought she'd batted it in. Watching the replay,
oh, really?
I mean, not to take away from what McCabe did, I think it was going in anyway, but the way she jumped for it, I thought she'd smacked it in.
But this was probably something that Kaylin Sheridan has saved, 8 out of 10 times in her life, and she took a couple steps forward to try to cheat. It looked like she thought it was going more near post than it was, maybe misjudged the flight of the ball, and then had to backpedal. And we all know if you're a goalkeeper and you're backpedaling, you've made a mistake. So, and then she just couldn't get her hand on it. But Ireland going up 1-0
was huge.
It was massive. It was absolutely massive. And frankly, when that happened, I had the thought about Canada that just could this be the end for Canada?
I will not have you and your slanderous about Canada.
I am not. I do not slander Canada.
We have a group chat, and Sarah has some.
Stop it.
Sarah has feelings.
For the group
Sarah
chat.
has some feelings about Canada.
I have mixed feelings about Canada, and I'll tell you why. I am 100% behind this team because of what they're having to go through with their federation, and quite honestly, I have been concerned for them because it has felt like it has shown on the field in a negative way the impact of the battle that they're having with their federation. And when Ireland went up 1-0, I genuinely kind of thought this makes sense. This is kind of what we've seen from Canada. They had a really tough She Believes. That was almost at the peak of everything becoming public. We haven't seen them perform that well since. And there was really nothing to it for Canada in that entire first half.
Yeah, so basically they're trying to do what the US has done, which is get the parity and have a collective bargaining agreement. It seems like their men's team is with them on it, but the federation is digging their heels in and just is not paying the Canadian team what they are worth.
Yeah, and they're cutting camps and saying that they don't have funding for camps and all of this stuff. Yeah, and this team's we won an Olympics and you can't fund us? Really? We stand behind them, of course, but they clawed their way back into this game. Like, that fight, that fire, it is there. And you have to just look at when the game changed. And it was at halftime when Sinclair and Sophie Schmidt came on this field.
Well, they got their goal, like, to level it just before.
That's true. Yeah.
I have to say, I feel so bad for Connolly, who it ended up going down as an own goal.
Yeah, I thought that was a little unfair.
It was unfair, and also, she wasn't meant to be on the pitch. Like, she was a very last-minute substitution because, again, somebody got injured during warm-ups, and she was brought on to replace them. So I did feel really bad for Connolly. I think, to be honest, it was going in anyway. It was another Leon shot.
I think if she didn't get something on it, there were Canadians on the back post I would have. It was just one of those situations.
But that did sort of bring down Ireland slightly and bring up Canada a lot more, because you're going in, they've managed to hold on for half an hour, basically, longer, and then to have that moment, Canada's like, right, we're in it. Let's do it.
This is 2 games where the last goal in the dying minutes of the first half carries the momentum through the second half. And that's obviously no surprise, but it is really something to keep an eye on. I really want to talk about Sinclair and Sophie Schmidt, because I think that there's a debate here. You know, do they start? Do they not start? They're obviously both fit to go 90. But I did agree with Bev Priestman's move to not start them this game, and specifically not start Sinclair. And I like them as these super subs, as these game changers. And they can come on in the second half. You don't have to wait until 60 minutes, 70 minutes. They can come on in the second half. But I do like them as these game changers. It was just concerning kind of how little Canada could do until they came on.
For me, though, I don't think Sinclair was that game changing. Not in this one.
Oh, I thought she was everything.
No, I thought it was not Sinclair's finest hour, this game, I have to say. Sophie Schmidt...
Look, in terms of scoring, I would agree. Sinclair 10 years ago would have had 2 goals in that game.
Sinclair couldn't hit a barn door at 10 paces in that game.
She could not find the back of the net for the life of her. Absolutely
I think she slowed the game down a bit, which maybe worked for them, but I wasn't a big fan of what Sinclair brought. Sophie Schmidt, however, that for me was the game-changing substitution.
I want to talk about Sophie Schmidt, but before I do, I have to disagree with you about Sinclair. Well, look, yeah, she couldn't find the back of the net for the life of her. That was too bad. However, what she's able to do, the opportunities she's able to create for them, I mean, even if she doesn't score, it brings the momentum. And she just is so smart in her movements and where to be. She knows exactly where to be on that pitch. I really do think it helps Canada a lot in their attack, in orchestrating the attack. Sophie Schmidt, what a ball to Adriana Leon for that winning goal. Oh my God.
And then Leon showing to people why you should play her.
She is lethal. Like, she is so lethal. I think I said this in our group chat. Like, she is so underrated. And somebody said she's so good, but she's so inconsistent. Yeah. So I think that really explains it. But when she's on, she is
But
on,
that
baby.
link up between the two of them was just beautiful and heartbreaking as well, because obviously I was cheering on Ireland, but just it had to be.
And Ireland really just ran out of steam in that second half. Katie McCabe, she put her heart and soul on that field, as she always does. But it really, towards the end of it, it just looked like Katie McCabe versus Canada. And she almost had an equalizer.
Yeah, she was so close. So close.
She was really close, and she knew it too. She really did. So Ireland left everything on the field. They should be really proud about their first performance.
Yeah, Ireland have had an amazing World Cup performance for them. They've gone toe-to-toe with some of the greatest footballing nations in the league, and they've kept it really close. They've lost by 1 goal in both of their games. Like, a lot of people would have had them down to be battered if you don't watch the football. But they would have looked at the rankings and gone, oh, they're going to get absolutely hammered. And they did their nation so proud.
So proud. I want to say, finally, to finish on Canada, I want to see more from their midfield. I really do. I thought Fleming was meh. Quinn has not had a great World Cup so far, and Grosso was kind of nowhere to be found, and I need to see more from them. All right, let's talk about how Group B looks, because we just talked about 2 Group B games, so let's talk about it. Right now, Nigeria and Canada sit tied with 4 points. Australia just below them with 3. Ireland are obviously eliminated. But those three...
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy because, right, so you do the maths about it, it's Australia are looking unlikely to get out of their group because they have got to beat Canada. That's the long and short of it. Yes, you can factor in what Nigeria are going to do and things like that. But the long and short of it is, if Australia don't beat Canada, bye-bye Australia. You're not getting out of the groups of your own home World Cup.
Knockout start now for Australia. This is win, move on, lose, tie, you go home. And on to our final segment, our newest segment. For those of you who didn't catch the latest one, really quick, this is our newest segment where we want to give you some storylines for all of the upcoming games until our next episode. This was born out of the fact that Fox Sports here in the U.S. just really wants to only cover the U.S. no matter what game is on next. All of the pregame shows are 30 minutes long, and they spend about 1 minute on the game that's actually about to happen. So we want to give you some storylines. So we're going to do that right now. Let's start with Saturday. Sweden versus Italy. Both those narrowly won their opening games. Which one will succumb to the second game curse? Sweden have not been able to beat their Italian rivals in the last 3 matches with 1 draw and 2 losses. The big question, will Seger start for the Swedes or will she remain the impact sub?
Italy will go into the game with more confidence after their win over Argentina. However, they will need to be very careful as 2 of their big hitters, Bonacera and Caruso, go in with yellow cards. 1 more each and they will miss the final game against South Africa, which could prove to be crucial.
On to Group F, France versus Brazil, everybody. This is the one we had circled from the beginning. This is it. France went into this as group favorites for some, not for others, not for us. However, a very frustrating performance against Jamaica has dampened this, as well as defender Renard in doubt due to a knock, so it could be an early out for the European side depending on the result of this game.
Brazil are flying high going into this match. The 4-0 win over Panama will give the South Americans a huge boost. However, in the last 5 head-to-heads against France, they have come away the losers. The player you need to watch out for is Borges after the last match. Can she bring that fire again? In the second matchup of this group is Panama versus Jamaica. Panama will be hoping to save a little face after the Brazil game. It will be the battle of the goalkeepers, however, in this match. Yeneth Bailey made sure it wasn't more on their first game out. Can she keep a clean sheet against the Reggae Girls?
Jamaica will be missing star striker Bunny Shaw, who has been not just their main threat, their emotional leader. She has been so important to this game, getting 2 yellow cards in the previous game. She will be out. Washington and Primus will have to pick up that torch. Will we see another draw, which will keep the Jamaicans in contention?
So over to Sunday. Now, Sunday is a crazy day because we have a 4-game day. It will be the final 2 games of match day 2, but we are starting match day 3 games, which is going to give us the start of our 16 that progress. So we're going to talk about the match day 2 games and then we'll talk about match day 3 games. But I'm being clear is that this is not chronological because the 2 match day 3 games happen in between the 2 match day 2 games on the Sunday. So starting with South Korea versus Morocco. South Korea were very slow in starting in their first game against Colombia, conceding 2 goals very quickly. However, after that, they tighten their defence, but it's hard to see where their goals are going to come from. Will they have that breakout player to slip past Morocco?
Morocco, however, have had moments of brilliance against Germany, but defensively were slightly weaker. An even match between these 2 teams, and it will be a case of who dares to win. And over to Germany versus Colombia. Germany were the most clinical of the first group match. However, Germany showed some cracks in their defense on the counterattack, and Colombia is a very counter-attacking team. So going forward, they have to keep that in mind.
Colombia were the fast and furious team who will frustrate the methodical Germans, but it does make them vulnerable at the back. So who will win that great matchup?
And now on to match day 3.
This is for Group A, which is probably one of the most chaotic So currently it is Switzerland atop with 4 points. Then we have both New Zealand and the Philippines with 3 points and Norway with 1.
Norway versus the Philippines. Norway need to win and hope New Zealand loses to get through. But it's looking unlikely. As we mentioned earlier, there are fractures in this camp, which is making the team quite non-cohesive.
To the Philippines, who are riding high after that win against the host nation, New Zealand. They are proving they are not to be discounted. Now, they will go through with a New Zealand loss and a draw for them. However, if they win and New Zealand win, they will also still go through.
And on to the second matchup of Group A, Match Day 3, Switzerland versus New Zealand. Switzerland currently sits with the best chance of topping the group. If you bet on that, you're going to make big money. Just a draw will see them through, which will help galvanize the team, who have been little disjointed.
Over to the host nation, New Zealand. After their shock loss to the Philippines, they are going to hope that they can beat Switzerland to guarantee their passage on the way through. Otherwise, they are hoping on other results.
And on to Monday, Group C, Japan versus Spain. This is the big matchup of Group C. Both teams are through, but this ultimately will decide who goes through first in the group.
Japan have been scoring goals for fun this tournament. They seem to have solved their issue when it comes to pushing forward. They are so tight at the back defensively. It's going to be a very strong team against Spain.
Spain have played some of the best fluid football in this tournament. No surprise there. And with Alexia back in the mix, what a matchup this will be.
The other game in Group C is Costa Rica versus Zambia, which, to be honest, is a dead rubber game as both are already out of the tournament. However, this will be the game to get some goals and save some face for each team.
Group B also plays their final games on Monday. We're not going to go through the storylines there because I think that we've covered that a lot in this episode. So finally, we will move to Tuesday, in which Group E will finish off Portugal versus the United States. Portugal have won their first World Cup game and are still the dark horses of this group and could advance with a wild win against the U.S. It could happen. Let's hope it doesn't.
The USA, however, will need a healthy win to top their group, as it may come down to goal difference. And as we said earlier, where will their goals come from?
Netherlands versus Vietnam will be at the same time. Same storyline here. This will be a battle of goals. Who can score more, the United States or the Netherlands? That is how we expect this to shape out to be. And the second place team in this group has quite the difficult road to face.
Vietnam have held themselves and will go out of this tournament with their heads held high. They are a very defensive team that has been very hard for both teams they've played to break down.
And finally, onto Group D. These will be the second two games on Tuesday. We have England versus China and Haiti versus Denmark. England versus China. China are Asia Cup's champions. Do not forget that. This team knows how to win a tournament, so do not count them out. Need we remind you of this team's storied history? They were playing in the World Cup final against the U.S. in that famous 1999 game. Keep an eye out for key player Wang Shuang.
And England, can they quiet the critics? Missing star players from the tournament like Beth Mead and Leah Williamson, questions have flown around their makeshift backline and their ability to score goals. This team has had a history of bad luck in tournaments and before winning the Euros in historic fashion.
But they still got that chip on their shoulder and a point to prove. And finally, Haiti versus Denmark. Denmark's Pernille Harder, also former Chelsea captain, leads the Denmark team. But this team has a sneaky amount of strong talent across all lines on the field. Denmark is not an explosive team, but certainly knows how to win a game and slowly take control.
And over to Haiti, the tournament debutants and are from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. This team has had to travel to the Dominican Republic in order to train. It is hard to root against a team who's had some of the most adversity we have seen a team face, and yet are still a team to watch. Keep an eye on the star 19-year-old Demorne. She will be a name that we will say for years to come. Yes, she is that good.
And that is it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. Do not forget to tune in to our England versus Denmark special with a special guest that will be dropping on Saturday for everybody, or you can head to our Patreon to get that earlier if you would like. And that is it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. We will see you all for a regular episode back on Tuesday. I've been Sarah.
I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.